Very impressive indeed. And now let's dig deeper into the motivations of Silknet to take a totally new step by issuing first Georgian depository notes. CEO of Silk Road Bank, Ilia Enukashvili, sat down with the checkpoints.
First of all, thank you for your time. So Silknet has a great news. For the first time in history, company decided to issue depository notes. Let's tell us more about this, what the depository notes are, first of all, and why did the company choose this way, and why today when outside this COVID-19?
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me. Yes, it's a historic moment actually, because the company Silknet is now issuing Georgian depository notes. It's actually a fresh term that was coined, because depository notes are not commonly used, but this is a term where when a credit instrument is transported into a different jurisdiction and a different mechanism of investing in securities. So Silknet has successfully placed 200 million euro bonds about a year and a half ago. Natural demand for such issue was from foreign investors. Usually, local demand is a very important part for any issuance from an emerging market. Unfortunately, Georgia has a sketchy record of having capital markets and investors who want to buy securities. So we understood that in order to cultivate that demand for the future, and not for now, because for now, not a penny will go into Silknet's pockets, but for the future issuances and the development of the capital markets and the demand for other securities that the company may issue in the future, it is important to create instruments which will allow Georgian retail investors to get exposure to Georgian companies, in this case Silknet. The Eurobonds have a very peculiar feature whereby a minimum investment amount is $200,000. And this is by far not accessible to many Georgian retail investors. Even high net worth individuals in Georgia may find it difficult to invest such amounts of money. So that's why we decided to find an instrument that would allow a much lower threshold for investing. And we found the depository notes, and actually we developed a concept for this with the very active involvement of the National Bank of Georgia, which I would like to thank for this process, with the development of the concept and the documentation done by Dentons, that is Georgia and Dentons UK, and the very active participations from the Georgian Stock Exchange and the Central Depository. So with all these organizations playing along during the pandemic, using the Zoom, WebEx, and other means to collaborate remotely, we developed this essentially new security that mimics most of the rights and obligations of the existing Eurobonds and provides an indirect means of investing in the Eurobond.
And I would like to ask you about the rights of owners of these securities. Do they have some boundaries or something?
Well, we have to mention that we tried very, very hard to mimic all the rights that the investors usually have under the Eurobonds. So it's indirect. This is indirect ownership, but of course to the maximum extent practical, we try to give almost all the rights that the investors have. So we have to mention that the ownership is indirect again in the security, but all the protection, the payments, etc., are the ones that the Eurobonds provide.
Mm-hmm. And what is the motivation of Silknet? Because as I heard, Silknet will not attract any new investments by this issuance.
It's a purely cultivation of a local investor base that will be interested to buy single Silknet securities in the future. We just want to make sure that there is a wider number of investors who want and can invest in Silknet securities. It's as simple as that.
I think it will be great impact on developing Georgian capital market, but I want to hear it from you.
There's only a handful of instruments which are available right now. There are literally a handful of companies that issue bonds. We don't have equity market to speak about, and any new issuance is usually welcomed by investors. And even when we compare the size of the capital market in Georgia with the size of the deposits in the banks, there's a huge gap. And in order for the country and the economy to develop, it needs a functioning capital markets to have various means of financing companies and transforming savings into investments. And every new instrument that gives additional confidence and an additional means of investing should be welcome. And we hope that other companies will follow suit and not only Silknet, because anybody now can use a similar instrument to do that. And we hope that others will follow, and the number of investors who regularly invest in the market will grow.
And I will take the advantage of the occasion, and I want to ask you about the impact of pandemic on Silknet, because during this period was really high demand on internet and other electronic services. How do you handle the challenges you face today and you faced during the lockdown and pandemic period?
We saw about 20-25% increase in fixed traffic. But especially important is the about 3 times higher mobile traffic that we saw during the pandemic, and this was handled essentially without a hiccup, thanks to the very massive investments that were done by Silknet since the acquisition of Geocell about 2 years ago in the mobile network, and the technological advantage that was taken by Silknet in the mobile network, which was confirmed by the drive tests that were done by the Georgian National Communication Commissions, which recognized Silknet's network as the fastest. And this was certainly not the case 2 years ago when Silknet acquired Geocell. So these investments allowed the company to provide a very good service to its customers and ensure that the much deeper digital life of our subscribers is handled. So whether it's Zoom conferences or school lessons or watching much more movies and series, etc., on any device, this was made possible by the much better network that the company has installed.
And what can you tell us about the company's future plans?
Well, Silknet plans to continue to invest in the future. So it was not only that the prior investments and prior capital expenditures allowed this traffic to go through and the service to be uninterrupted, but also during the pandemic, the investments have not stopped. And nothing was halted and nothing was postponed. On the contrary, the company doubled down on the investments and continues to roll out better and faster mobile network as well as fixed network. Also now Silknet is in the final stages of the so-called IT transformation, whereby huge IT systems are being replaced and modernized. So this builds a foundation for successful service of Silknet subscribers in the future, introduction of new technologies, being faster on the market, and better cater to the demands of Silknet subscribers. And of course, capital markets are very important in that, in ensuring that Silknet has the capacity to invest in the future and have the kind of the technological advanced networks that it has now, and it will have in the future with all the advancements in the technology that take place as we speak.
Hey guys, stay tuned, subscribe and follow us on BMG.